This is Alex, and welcome to Barely Braided, where we're taking a deep, deep dive into foster care, adoption, and all things parenting, even the sticky stuff. Welcome to episode 43, and I know that because we just did this 4 other times, and you told me it's episode 43. How are you?
I'm fine.
Just fine?
Yep.
What would make you spectacular?
I don't know. A day of nothing but sleep?
You should take a sick day.
Yeah.
A mental health day. I did that one time, and it was really nice.
That would be nice.
Yeah. It was nice. So we promised our listeners that this episode would be the one and likely the only episode that we do on race. And I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, me too. But it's something that has to be talked about.
It does. I think it's time. We've had enough experience. We've had enough situations to talk about. And I don't want us to go down the wrong road, or I don't want the wrong message to be conveyed like something other than what we're trying to do. So I'm going to try to be really careful. But with that being said, if either one of us say something that we later believe could be perceived in a way that we didn't mean it, I think we might cut it, or I don't know. I'm freaking out a little.
Play it by ear.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear. But if there's like a weird cut, it's either that or one of the dogs started barking.
They have their bark collars on now, so hopefully it won't be too much.
Yeah, we do. I feel like we have a couple foster updates as well, but I don't think we should get into it because we have quite enough to talk about in this episode. But there's one update that we cannot get away without saying. The toothbrushes.
Huh?
So we talked about the toothbrushes in the last episode being something that...
Oh, yes.
Oh, we didn't bring toothbrushes. Okay, listen. I got messages and texts and like my family members, your family members being concerned about us, thinking that we didn't bring toothbrushes on our vacation for ourselves. So we didn't bring toothbrushes for the kids. Okay, I get it. It's bad enough. We should have brought toothbrushes for the kids. We did bring toothbrushes for ourselves.
Yes, we did.
And use them.
And toothpaste.
So I think we just had to put that out there because there was a little bit of miscommunication.
We got hate mail.
Yeah, we got hate mail. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And we should also give a disclaimer that we can only talk about race and prejudice from the perspective of are we middle-aged? Middle-aged white
folk.
Yeah, that's the perspective we have. That is similar to many of our listeners. That is, just based on the statistics alone, most of our listeners fall in that same category. So if that's not you, this may not be helpful. However, we love all of our listeners.
Amen, sister.
And again, the goal of the podcast was to talk about the stuff that's sometimes hard to talk about. The real truth when it comes to being a foster parent, being an adoptive parent, what you can expect, and how to prepare yourself so you're not thrown off guard and so you can better prepare to care for children. That's the goal. So that's what we're doing here. Honestly, I was caught off guard a bunch when it comes to race. Were you also?
Yeah, and the deeper we get into it, the longer we have the child, and we plan to have her forever. So it's
plan to or hope to. Foster care doesn't really allow you to make plans.
Well, we're trying to plan, but yeah, you're right. You never know.
Yeah.
But for me, each day, different challenges having a daughter of another race. And I think the more time goes by, the more things I notice.
So this whole thing kind of stemmed from an experience when we traveled at the airport. Mm-hmm. Do you want to describe that?
Yeah. So as a child, I had a leash because my mom said I was busy.
Okay, first of all, let's clarify. She is like way too nice because...
There's a song called Angels Among Us. That's my mother.
Yes. Busy. I don't feel is a strong enough word to describe what you probably were like as a child.
Oh.
Anyways, continue. But also this applies to our son.
Yeah, well, so we didn't want to take a stroller to Minnesota when we took the whole family up there for a wedding recently. And to combat that, we had gotten these backpacks with stuffed animals on them with a leash, probably 6 or 8 months ago. We've never really used them, but when we were getting ready to go, I was like, let's not take the stroller. Let's try these out and see how it goes. Brooks didn't really take to his, didn't really like it. Ari really seemed to like hers. So
it was a giraffe. It was
a
really
giraffe.
cute.
Brooks was a dinosaur. So they basically, or she wore this giraffe with a leash on it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds funny, and we talked about it in the last episode, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want my child running off in an airport. I don't want somebody snatching her up. I mean, do you remember that story about that little boy at the Mall of America? Mm-hmm. He was with his mom, and some random stranger snatched him and threw him over the balcony.
Yeah.
Luckily, he lived, but I mean, there are crazy people everywhere, and I'm not overprotective, I'm not like crazy anxious about something like that. But if it's the difference between keeping my child safe for a 1 in a million event, or maybe some people giving us some strange stares, I'm going to keep her safe.
Yeah, for sure. So we were on our way back, had gotten back into Nashville, and we're waiting at baggage claim for our bags to come out with the kids. Brooks was just standing by us. He didn't run off or anything. And Ari still had her backpack on with the leash. And we were approached by a younger black man. And he basically came up to us and said, I don't mean to intrude. And I don't remember exactly what he said. I don't mean to intrude. And then he said, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I'd really like to know why she has a backpack on with a leash on it and he doesn't.
I don't even think he was that specific. I think he said something along the lines of like, I just have to know, why is she wearing that?
Yeah.
Or something like
that. Yeah.
But it was definitely, he was insinuating there was a problem with her being on a leash and Brooks not. Mm-hmm. I think we were we were so tired.
I was dumbfounded.
Yeah, we were just speechless. And I think I kind of gave some stupid answer like, she's so cute, I don't want somebody to snatch her up.
Right, and you said that she actually likes it and starts crying when we take it off, which is a fact.
Yeah, and I think he just said, I had to hear it from you, and he turned around and walked away.
Yeah.
It is crazy to me. It's appalling that, not at him specifically, but that somebody would think that we had some sort of bad intentions.
We treat our children differently based on the color of their skin.
Yes. Or badly like that. I mean, not necessarily differently, because all children you have to treat differently, whether it be a girl or a boy or two boys with different personalities or different needs or whatever it may be.
Or Brooks with split personalities. I'm kidding.
He's a Gemini. Yeah, it was just, that was so crazy to me. And, after we tell the story, I feel like a lot of people come to us and say, well, you should have told him it wasn't any of his business.
I'm not here to upset anybody, right? I'm not trying to wasn't trying to confront the man. And I'm not convinced that he had ill will in his being, right?
His demeanor did not put off a vibe of ill will at all.
It didn't, but it's still off-putting a little bit that they would ask that.
Yeah.
I think if the tables were turned and we saw a black family with a little white boy or a little white girl, I don't think I'd have the cojones to go up and ask them that, right?
Well, but I don't think you'd have the initial thought that it was ill-intentioned to begin with.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy. I don't know. The whole thing is really strange. And something you just said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was I'm not trying to offend anybody, or whatever you just said. I can't remember exactly what it was. But that's kind of the whole point, and our overall, I guess, perspective is that first and foremost, we are trying to keep our children safe and ensure they're happy, confident, well-adjusted, mentally stable children leading into adults. That's number one, I think, for both of us.
Yep.
And number two is, we're not trying to offend anybody. We're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. But at the point where those two ideas conflict, I will choose my children every single time. You know, if I can conduct myself and conduct my family in a way that doesn't offend people and is treating other people kind and with respect, I will do that every time. But the second that offense is taken and conflicts with my children's well-being, it's my children that get put first.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think the thing, and I was just thinking about this, and I don't know why, but I remember when we got the call about Ari, you went and fed her, and we never knew what her race was until you got there, because
right.
You sent me a picture of her, and I was like, oh, she's black.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not, we accepted this child into our lives, not knowing if she was black, white, blue, Hispanic, whatever.
I think you can only do that. Like most people will say, I will welcome a child of any race into my home.
But I prefer...
No. But what I was going to say is you have to be willing to put the work into their culture, because
Right.
there are a lot of white adoptive parents that aren't willing to put in that work. And I think that's kind of where the generalization and the stereotype of white adoptive parents comes from, this negative stereotype. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. But first, let's talk about white savior complex. Do you know what that term means? I printed out the definition. Do you want to read it?
Do you want me to paraphrase, or do you want me to read it?
No, just read it.
Okay.
I think word for word. I think this came from, I can't remember the exact website this came from. But yeah, read the
White
definition.
savior complex is a term that's used to describe white people who consider themselves wonderful helpers to black, indigenous, and people of color. But they help for the wrong reasons, and sometimes end up doing more to hurt than help. They believe it's their responsibility to support and uplift communities of color in their own country or somewhere else, because people of color lack the resources, willpower, and intelligence to do it themselves.
Okay, so this is really interesting to me because this is one of the generalizations that gets made quite often about white adoptive parents of black children, is that they have a white savior complex. So I just kind of wanted to look at the definition and see if it applies. So the first thing that stood out to me is the fact that it says the white adoptive parents are helping for the wrong reasons and sometimes end up doing more hurt than help. So let's apply this to foster care in our situation. So are we doing more hurt for Ari than help in her life?
No.
No, I absolutely don't think so, because what's the alternative? She is raised in a situation...
Raised in the situation that she is out of now.
Yeah, that put her into foster care to begin with. Or she's in another foster family. And I truly believe that we put a lot of work and self-reflection and
some more than
learning.
others, and I'm looking at you.
Learning. I think we do a lot more than other white adoptive foster parents, to be honest. And there are obviously those who do much better than us, but I think we do a great job. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rule us out. It also says that they believe people of color lack the resources, willpower, and intelligence to do it themselves. This is also interesting because, like you said, we have fostered children of multiple races. I don't think we're helping them because their race lacks the resources to do it. It's their particular families.
Their specific parents.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Biological.
It's not their race as a whole.
Because almost every situation that we've had, and they have been different races and different socioeconomic statuses and so on and so forth, they've all been in that situation because of the actions of their parents, and they're all different.
Right. See, and this is interesting too, because I was listening to a video and it was talking about how a lot of times foster parents and adoptive parents kind of unfairly push to adopt I guess this was just foster parents, how they unfairly push to adopt and they're trying to break these biological family bonds, and the biological families aren't given a chance, and many times their kids were taken from them and meanly pulled by the mean old state because the bio parents couldn't afford food for them or smoked a little weed. What was said. And I'm
four
like,
out of 4 situations that we've been in,
it's been drugs.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to apologize when I say that there is a big difference between those who can't afford to feed their children and those who choose to use drugs while they're pregnant with another human being. I'm sorry, my level of respect changes in those scenarios.
Right, and none of those drugs were a little bit of weed.
No. Not even close. It was a little bit of weed plus 4 other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I can feel myself starting to get heated.
Yeah, marijuana was the least of our concerns in the situation. So.
Yeah, and I was so mad when I heard this. Like, the foster parents are trying to pull these babies out of their homes because the poor bio families. And, bless those who cannot afford to feed their children and their children are taken away from them, because I'm sure it's happened. Mm-hmm. But that has not been our experience or the experience of anybody we know. Not even close. In fact, it's been the opposite.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so toxic to put generalizations like this white savior complex on white adoptive parents, because it discourages parents from doing helpful things because they're afraid they're going to get chastised.
And it's a generalization, just as if we were to go say that, some other race or something does something in particular.
Yeah, generalizations need to be avoided by all parties.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounded a little ridiculous when it came out of my mouth, I'm sure, but...
Well, and so even if, we are trying to avoid the generalizations, we're trying to avoid the stereotypes, we're trying to avoid, putting people in situations if they have bad intentions, right? But even if white adoptive parents have bad intentions, and by no means am I saying that this should be the case or this should be right, but let's say they have bad intentions. The alternative is still the child is being abused and neglected in their biological home. You know what I mean? Is it still better than the alternative? And that's a sticky path to go down because, there could be one of every type of scenario ever, but I don't know. I'm starting to get really heated. I feel like we're going to need to do...
Simmer down now.
I know. I feel like we're going to need to do multiple parts to this because we're only a tenth of the way down page 1 of our outline.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so in an attempt to really just learn and understand and check ourselves, honestly, we pulled the definitions of racism as well as prejudice. So read that definition of racism. I'm going to give you my phone.
Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that's in a minority or marginalized.
Okay, so you hear the argument of, can black people be racist against white people? And I guess based on that definition, the answer is no, because white people are not a minority and they're definitely not marginalized. So that would make sense.
But they can be prejudiced.
Which is what I've seen and what I've experienced in complete honesty. So what's the definition of prejudice?
Preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience.
Yeah. And basically, the prejudice comes with the generalizations. It comes with the stereotypes. It comes with kind of thinking all white adoptive parents do things a certain way that is, I guess, bad or incorrect or whatever. So I think a lot of this also stemmed from my TikTok account because I created an account and I posted some videos with Ari trying to learn how to fix her hair and cornrow and keep it healthy.
One of the videos was, help me if I'm wrong, over 1 million views?
Oh yeah, I have 1 or 2 videos that really, really blew up. I didn't expect it.
Mommy went viral.
I went viral. I did not expect it.
You're a virus.
I'm not a virus.
Okay.
And I will tell you, 99 out of 100 comments are so
positive.
sweet.
Yeah.
So nice. You're doing a great job. Thank you for learning. Thank you for taking care of her. Thank you, whatever.
And the majority of your followers are people of color.
Black women.
Yeah.
Yes, the majority of my followers are Black women.
Why is that?
Probably because they follow like black hairstyles.
Gotcha.
And that kind of thing.
They just stumbled upon you by your hashtag or something?
Yeah, or like by what they've previously looked at or something
Makes
like
sense.
that. So the bad comments stick out. The one that I can remember is it said, I think it was something along the lines of, does anyone else get offended when they adopt one of our own? And most of the comments underneath are like, nope, just you, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking like in my head too, what is the alternative? Like, do you have your foster care license? Do you adopt children? Like, what are you doing to help children?
Right.
That,
in
that
your
need help?
community.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, feel free to go get your foster care license. That will give you a little bit more credibility. But at the same time, you as one foster family can't take them all.
Right.
So it just makes me so mad. And then we talked about this before too, but I got a really mean Instagram message at one point. I guess not mean. It was awful. And it said something about, I hope your N-word children are killed by the police.
Yeah, that was a tough one because it was like they created an account just to say that.
Yeah, it was like they had no followers. They were following nobody. It was a bunk profile picture. I don't know where that came from or why, but it was weird too because it was an Instagram message. And at the time, there was no presence of Ari on my Instagram.
Yeah.
So
we were kind of led to believe it was either somebody that there was an acquaintance.
Yep.
Or somebody that
came from my TikTok page.
Right, yeah.
But came from TikTok and made an Instagram account. I don't know. It didn't make sense. Again, none of this is meant to, like, I'm trying not to complain and rant and go off. I think instead we need to make it clear that we're trying to prepare foster parents for what they will see and what they will experience if they're in a situation like ours.
Yeah, and one thing, we went to Opry Mills to the mall on Sunday. One thing I've really started noticing more of is, and maybe I was just kind of naive to it or blind to it, but I watch people. I'm a pretty good watcher of people, especially, when we're in crowded places and to see the looks. Like I vividly remember you were inside of Bath and Body Works paying for our smell goods, and I had the kids out in the walkway, and this black woman looked at me, and then she looked in the stroller, and the look that was on her face was like, how did that happen?
Was it like confused, disgusted?
Both.
See, I don't think I pay attention to the way people look at us.
I do anymore. I used to not, but I do more and more, it seems like. The more I become aware of the negativity.
Yeah.
Well, I want to see people's reactions.
Actually, you said
I do and I don't, I should say.
You said you used to not, but actually, I think you've always been a people watcher. And the reason I say this, so this is funny. I'm thinking back to when we first started dating. So both of us had just gotten out of relationships with people who cheated on us. And so we're in the very beginning stages of dating. And I think we're both probably like...
You're talking about the Vikings game?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I don't remember if it was the Vikings game, but I know both of us were like super sensitive to, I think, people cheating on us, because that's what had just happened to us. And I noticed that you like stared so much at what I thought at the time were women all the time. And at first I was really like kind of irritated about it. I'm like, what a creep, he's like, he's kind of gross, like stares at all these women. And then I paid closer attention and I noticed you literally stare at everybody.
I don't stare at everybody.
You do. Men, women, elderly people, young people, like you just look at people, all of them. That's weird to say, but like
people watch birds too. Okay,
I know you watch people. I guess I'm a
people watcher.
I never noticed that because I don't even like, my best friend could walk next to me or walk past me like at the mall, and there's a good chance I wouldn't notice. So yeah, I guess you probably do notice the looks more often than I do. I've also noticed that people tend to have a more negative opinion about white adoptive parents who have a big social media following. So I remember having a conversation with somebody, and this happened to be a Black woman who, this was when I was first starting off on TikTok, and I had like my first video that started getting a lot of views, and she was kind of warning me not to let my profile get quote unquote icky, is what she said. And so of course I was like, of course, like I want to learn.
What did she mean by icky?
Well, that's what I asked.
Oh.
And she said that she notices sometimes that white adoptive parents will like showcase their children. They'll block Black women who have negative comments on their page. They'll post nudes of their kids, which I think on social media is absolutely
Who posts
absurd.
nudes on?
I've never seen it. That's what she told me. And she also said she sees a lot of times the Black adopted children will look disheveled, not cared for, their hair will be messy, their clothes will be messy. Again, I haven't seen it, but that's kind of what she warned me against. And then she sent me a profile, the link to a profile of a woman on Instagram who was a white adoptive parent with, I think she had 2 Black adopted kids and then 2 other children who were white, either adopted or bio. I'm not sure. And she was like, see, this is an example. And I responded, I looked through the profile and I just said, okay, I'm not seeing the difference between this woman, and I sent her another profile to, actually it was Carly from The Bachelor, The Bachelor. And I'm not even a big fan. I just happened to follow her on Instagram for whatever reason. And she's a mom with like 1 or 2 kids, and she's like posting pictures of her kids and whatever. And it seemed to be like the same sort of vibe.
Were the Bachelor or Bachelorette's kid, did they have interracial children?
No, but I'm saying The Bachelor, hers was just her and her biological family.
Gotcha. Okay.
This other white woman was her and her adopted family.
So what you're saying is they're basically posting the same stuff, but
one had adopted kids, one didn't.
And they're okay.
So I was just asking this woman, I was like, okay, so what's the difference? What makes it wrong because she has Black adopted kids, but it's right, or is it right or okay for this white woman with her biological children? Mm-hmm. And her response to me was that the transracial adopted mom tanned too much, is what she said. Which I'll tell you, I looked at a picture of her and she looked whiter than me, and that takes talent. So I didn't see those particular pictures.
Who cares if the woman tans too much? Does she use too much hair dye too? I mean, come on.
I don't know. She also said the photos of her Black kids get more likes and follows, which I get how that can appear icky, but at the same time, she doesn't have control over who likes and follows her accounts.
Right.
And then she also said the reason it was icky is because allegedly this woman adopted her children from a country in which it's illegal to adopt children from. Okay, this woman had hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm kind of doubting that's the case.
Yeah.
If it is, like, how would you know, first of all? And if
it's not like the woman like advertised.
Maybe she did.
Hey, I got my kids illegally.
I'm sure she did not get her children illegally,
right,
is what I'm saying. Maybe she did, but I'm kind of assuming she probably didn't. So really, I was attempting to figure out what makes it icky, what makes it offensive, and I didn't get a good answer. The other thing I was told is don't exploit / monetize your children, which we've talked about how much I make from this podcast. Do you want to know how much I make from my TikTok?
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. Like $0. So what do you think about that, Joel?
It's a lot to digest, the whole topic. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to talk about. It's
emotionally draining yet freeing at the same time.
Yeah. We live this all the time. Sometimes even, I guess all I can say is that if you do have a child of color, be prepared for the looks, because it's going to happen. There's always going to be that 1 or 2 people out there that...
Not only the look, though, but a negative comment.
Sure.
Or a very out-of-line comment. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So what about the comment we got at Big Lots, that, like, one of those first times?
I think that was the first time we ever took her out of our house.
Yeah.
It was just after just before or just after Christmas, and we're walking through Big Lots, and this is almost 2 years ago, and I remember this like it was yesterday. We rounded the corner in the back of the store, and this young lady that works there popped out, and she's like, "Oh, where did she come from?"
And we had Brooks with us as well. Like,
Yeah.
no, where did Brooks come from?
"Hey, where'd she come from?"
And what did you say?
I said, "The stork."
Yeah.
And we marched on by.
Yeah. That was really good, quick thinking. I couldn't have done that. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So the other thing you'll notice if you foster or adopt, at least if you're a white adoptive parent fostering or adopting a black child, is the Facebook groups. The Facebook groups, like for that group of people specifically, I've noticed can be helpful. And
Are you saying like Facebook group adoptive parents of children of color?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, there are lots
I don't
of
get
groups.
into those types of groups, so I'm
Well,
into motorcycle groups and whiskey groups, and
There are good.
don't want to be a better dad. So, but I
There-
did just join the Middle Tennessee Dads page a couple of days ago.
You did?
Yeah, you recommended it to me, and so I joined it.
Oh, that's great news. Cool. So these groups for transracial adoption, they can be good, they can be helpful, and they can be negative and toxic as well. I've noticed that a majority of the content in these groups comes from white adoptive parents, white adoptive mothers specifically. And look, we've talked about in the past how you should get your hairstyling advice from a licensed professional. I'm not going to get the advice on how to raise my black child from a white adoptive parent. I mean, I understand that they will have lived some experiences and they will have some knowledge, but my best information is going to come from a black person who was adopted by white parents. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, that those are the professionals.
Yeah, and I think you're also going to get good advice from some people within the black community.
True.
But you're also going to get those haters.
Yeah, absolutely. Or adopted people
Yeah.
will have good advice as well. The point is that, well, the point in this scenario anyways, is that these groups can be very toxic, and it's kind of one of those things where white adoptive parents cannot do any right, cannot win, cannot be celebrated. That's kind of looked down upon, I guess. So I remember when I was posting my videos, like kind of proud of myself, honestly, for learning how to cornrow. I never thought it was something that I'd be able to do, and I was getting good at it. And
And you took it very seriously.
I put a ton of work and a ton of money into learning this. Yes, I did. So one of the comments, and I looked back at it, and I have it here in front of me. So this is it, verbatim. Parents deserve medals anyways, but you don't get an extra one because you're white and can cornrow or comb your black child's hair. And then another comment was, you're not exceptional because you learn to take care of your black child correctly. Okay. This makes me so mad because I completely disagree. Listen, as parents, we need to be lifting each other up. I have friends with young children. I have friends who are pregnant. Look, if they got out of bed with a smile on their face, they deserve an extra medal. If they learned a new recipe and their kids enjoyed it, they deserve a medal. If it was difficult for them to get out of bed in the first place that day, they deserve a medal. Everybody has their own struggles. Everybody has their own achievements. And I don't care what they are, parents deserve a medal for them, in my opinion. Like, there is no room to be bashing each other and deciding what gets celebrated and what doesn't. You look like you have tears in your eyes.
No, my eyes are really dry, actually.
Oh.
But I will tell you that my mom and dad deserve a trophy case, like a whole hallway. They don't just deserve a medal.
That's true. They did a really good job on your brother and sister.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, what traits did your parents teach you that you would like to also implement as a father?
I think hard work and treating people well. I probably didn't adopt that one until later in life. I could have been construed as a bully.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, meaning what?
I used to give kids lots of crap. Elementary school specifically, probably. I remember the after-school conferences in Mrs. Biersted's room.
Shout out to her.
She was a witch. She was awful.
She probably just hated you.
Yeah, probably. Where were we?
You were a bully. So, okay, what are you...
Oh, the traits, yeah. I think one of my favorite things was something my dad said to me, that I could be anything I wanted to be, as long as I was happy and as long as I was the best at it. Mm-hmm. Right? So, the analogy I think he used, and I remember we were sitting, it was right when I was going through a divorce, and I didn't want to be a banker anymore. I hated that, and I wanted to go back and do what I was happy at, and that was motorcycles. And we're at the Tavern 4 and 5 in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. He said, hell, I don't care if you're a garbage man, but if you're going to be a garbage man, just be the best damn garbage man that there is.
Aww. Ted.
So I think, that's something that I'll definitely instill in the kids. I don't care. I don't care if they're a farmer, a teacher, sell
preacher.
Motors. Yeah, 3 wooden crosses.
I do not want them to be one of the wooden crosses on the highway.
No. But be what you want to be. Just be really freaking good at it and enjoy it.
Yeah. I appreciate that. So my next question then is, what are you going to do in a situation where one of your kids is a bully, or 2, they are being bullied?
Ooh, boy, that's a good question. If they're being a bully,
like, what would have knocked you down as a bully?
What would have knocked me down? I don't know.
Like, what would have stopped you from being a bully?
Probably getting my ass kicked.
Oh, well.
Honestly. I was the biggest kid in school.
Okay. I feel like Vicky would have...
Oh, yeah. She would have had a fit.
No, I mean, she would have whooped you.
Wouldn't have been the first time.
That's pretty funny.
Not that she whooped me. She whacked me on the butt once or twice. She'll probably disagree with that, but I do remember a few times where I might have said the wrong thing, and she always used to threaten me. She always used to say, be careful or you're going to be on the ground looking up. And I remember one time that I don't even know what I did, but she swept my leg like Johnny and the Karate Kid swept my leg, and there was a loud thud with me on my back.
I would have paid money to have that on videotape so I could replay it every day. We went off on a tangent.
Squirrel.
We really went off on a tangent. So we need to get back to race because we have quite a bit to unpack, and we're pretty far into this episode. So another thing that I've seen, and this to me may be the most disgusting to me and the most offensive. And before I say this, let's talk about how anger, I guess you could call it prejudice, accusations towards white adoptive parents affect us. Because it makes us really mad. I think it's something that stirs up some emotions. But at the end of the day, if we see this kind of stuff online, we kind of read it, make a mental note, scroll on past, and it doesn't affect us.
Yeah, I don't, because I'm not in those types of groups, I don't see that sort of stuff, but I feel it secondhand through you. Yes. And I feel the energy that you feel about it.
Yes, and certain things bother me more than others. But at the end of the day, this is probably going to be the only episode we do on race. I mean, unless people massively request more. Because
I don't know if I'll have the energy to do another one like this.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really affect our day-to-day because we can look past it. Right. I have been known to be accused of having no emotions, and that kind of helps in a situation like this.
I have too many emotions sometimes.
Well, yeah, but you don't let this kind of stuff bother you.
No.
So back to the thing that I personally find most disgusting and most offensive. These are the videos on TikTok that stereotype white adoptive parents who are asking questions about their black foster adoptive children, where they use the filter where the mouth is super big and they talk in like a really annoying sort of like white person accent. To me, that's disgusting. If the roles were reversed, it would be not allowed. Like you would be absolutely roasted if the roles were reversed. And again, scroll past it, not think anything else of it, but the videos are basically depicting white adoptive mothers asking questions about how to take care of their black children using the big mouth filter, and it's just gross to me. Because if it was anybody else, they would.
Why can't we all just get along and support each other?
Right, exactly. It's like, so for being inquisitive and asking about...
And wanting to do what's best for your child.
Right, wanting to do right, there's something suddenly wrong with that.
Maybe this person's in a community where they don't have much diversity. They can't reach out to their neighbor and say, hey, how would you recommend I do this, right?
Yeah.
We live in a place where literally if we had questions about how to take care of Ari's hair.
Brooks is the only white kid in his class.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, but we could get tips from daycare. We have neighbors. A bunch of our neighbors are black.
No. I'm thinking there was one other white kid in Brooks's class and he quit. Brooks is literally the only white kid in his class.
Oh.
You're right. We live in a very diverse community. And we could literally ask anybody. And I don't
think anybody would have a problem with it. I think everybody would be accepting of it. In fact,
I've
have
asked friends. I've asked neighbors. I've asked
daycare teachers. Yeah.
Yes.
And they've all been gracious and helped.
Yeah, in fact, and this is kind of interesting too. So I took Ari to a hair salon, a black-owned hair salon, for the first time a few months ago. And the reason is because we were going on vacation. I wanted to see if her hair may be long enough to do a protective style that would last more than one day. I mean, because she's still a baby at this point, so her protective styles don't last at all, like not more than a day. So I wanted some extra advice. I wanted somebody to like actually put their hands in her hair and kind of give me some information. So this woman, first of all, she was amazing. She was so sweet, so helpful, but she kind of told me that like at Ari's age, so she had her daughter with her as well. Her daughter was like 5. She said that she had not done hairstyles on her daughter until her daughter was at least 3.5 or 4. And the reason was because she was trying to help it grow. And she said, so the first 3.5, 4 years of her daughter's life, she kind of did look messy. She looked disheveled. Her hair looked kind of a mess. And I'm just looking at her, and what I told her is that, okay, that makes sense. I get it, but I may not be able to get away with that like you can.
You might be more judged.
Yes.
Because they wouldn't think you knew how to take care of it.
And I saw a light bulb go off in her head, like, okay. Because at first I don't think she understood why I came so early, why I was in a salon before Ari was 2 years old. I mean, Ari's hair is pretty long. Like, you could definitely cornrow it or braid it or whatever. But it seemed like she didn't really get why I was there. And when I said that, the light bulb went off. And so it was really cute. She did like 2 cornrows on one side, 2 cornrows on another side, leading up to a ponytail, and then the rest was like a mohawk with some ponytails, and it was really, really cute. So that was a good experience. Unless you have anything else, I think we should cut it off.
I don't have anything.
No?
Nope.
All right. Well, I think that should be it. I think there was more we could get into, but again, I don't want this to be a rant and complaint episode. I want this to be if you are a foster parent, this is what you can most likely expect.
Yep.
So, have we done it?
I think so.
All right. Well, as always, big thanks to Ruben. I'm going to send this over to him and hopefully it won't get lost in my email. And also, I really do want to know what you thought about this episode. So leave me a comment, Instagram message. Heck, come over and comment on my TikTok page. Whatever you want to do. Send a carrier pigeon. We want to hear from you. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.